I'm able to cover first Mr. Rangel and several members of parliament asked actually about the regional dynamics, and if I'm looking first on the side of the dam, the Millennium Renaissance Dam that many of you mentioned, it is clear that it will be a major factor particularly for the production of electricity in Ethiopia, and it's this kind of symbol of national proudness. It actually has been built from the money of pockets of the ordinary citizens. There has been a collection of money from the ordinary citizens in Ethiopia for this huge project. So it's a national proudness issue, and it is clearly stated also openly by the government there. And then the problem occurs, as you rightly said, when we speak about the water situation in Sudan and in Egypt. Sudan and Egypt have a little bit different interest on this dam issue. Actually, for Sudan, the Renaissance Dam is not threatening their water, access to water or infrastructure so much, but they would like to know how this dam will be managed in the way that there are no flooding or any amount of the water that could destroy the dams on the Sudanese side. This is very important, open exchange of information. And then on Egypt more speaks about the water shortage. If the dam will be built, well, will there be enough water on the downriver of Nile? And now in these circumstances where Ethiopia is not negotiating, not with Sudan and not with Egypt. Egypt and Sudan has joined their forces and tried to pressure Ethiopia, and these talks are ongoing. And it's the European Union and actually US, we have a very key role in these talks. We are observers in these dam talks. And of course, we have two kind of messages. First message, of course, to Ethiopia to come forward with all the technical data, come to the table. Now the second feeling is happening this summer, and it's obvious it will happen because this is the rainy season is coming, and the neighbors need information. And then in the long term, they need to come with the plan on how the dam, when it's ready, how it will be operated. And until they are doing that, of course, both Sudan and Egypt will be very suspicious. And as you can see, Egypt is even using very hostile language, war type of language, increasing its military capacity in the area, even threatening with the military operations if Ethiopia will not come to the negotiation table. And the European Union has a very, very crucial role in this. Through our EUSR, Alex Rondos, we have been all the time following the talks and been providing data and all kinds of technical assistance to parties in the talk. What the African Union and the current chair of African Union, Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, can do in this, it's not obvious that they have been so successful so far, but it's very, very important that we work together with the African Union and as observers, European Union and US. And I know that behind the scenes these talks and contacts are now all the time ongoing. There was also many questions about the humanitarian situation, current humanitarian situation on the ground, and while it has been a little bit improving the access since February, April, the main trouble with the humanitarian organizations is actually to safe access to Tigray and some locations in Tigray. When they go further, they meet military operations, and these military operations are nobody's informing about those to the humanitarian community. The situation is very dangerous for the humanitarian workers when the war is ongoing. One day this road is closed, another day another road is closed. They have to turn back from this village, they have to turn back from that village. And for humanitarian community, it's very, very difficult situation, a very risky situation that is currently ongoing. So the pressure towards the government has to continue to allow the free humanitarian access, and of course as to stopping of the hostilities. There was also a question about how this is interlinked to the Somalia situation and this very strange new triangle, which is also challenging the regional cooperation. It's not based no more nowadays so much on IGAD, which has been the traditional regional cooperation organization, but Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Somalia. Mr. Farmajo has been working together in this kind of triangle, and it's not very friendly triangle to other countries of the region, and that's the reason why we have also put a lot of pressure, of course, to Somalia to hold the elections, to President Farmajo to come back to the electoral process, and luckily this has we have been successful in that, so that Prime Minister Roble is now responsible for holding the elections in Somalia, and this hopefully gives some light to, for example, to Somalia-Kenya connections, which has been very, very bad recently. On the other regional countries like the Saudi Arabia and Emirates, there was the question also why we visited these and how can we manage cooperating with the countries with whom we have some other pending issues. We have been actually appealing very strongly both to Saudi Arabia and Arab Emirates that they should and could use their influence both to Ethiopia and Eritrea to come to the peaceful solution of the Gerd dam issue and of course the peaceful solution in Tigray. And this dam issue and particularly the Al-Fasaka triangle issue are issues where the Arab countries can use their influence also by steering their investments and helping the parties to come to the table. And for example, Arab Emirates has been organizing several meetings on the dam issue between the relevant parties, and we have an excellent exchange of information with these players. There was also a question how we cooperate with the US and transatlantic cooperation at this stage, and as rightly mentioned by members of parliament, US has appointed a special envoy for the Horn of Africa, very, very experienced diplomat Jeffrey Feltman, who has a long UN background and now working for the US administration. And we are in contact with Mr. Feltman almost several times per week and try to coordinate our efforts and the reactions both by the European Union and the US side. And I think we have been very successful on that we have similar messages and we share openly information between us and as also mentioned, the G7 comments, all this is very valuable that the international pressure goes to the same direction, and I think we work together. There was also a question, can the human rights assessment be neutral in these circumstances, particularly because part of the human rights assessment is done by national human rights organization. That was the precondition of the Ethiopians, that the UN High Representative of Human Rights can enter only with the national organization. And of course, you might ask if the national organization could be biased or something like that. But Madame Bachelet has convinced us that she will make her report independently and not be affected by the government of Ethiopia or national organizations of Ethiopia. So I trust on that. And when there was the question that has some human rights violations or war crimes occurred, of course we have now the many organizations coming with independent reports, but I really recommend to wait for this UN High Commissioner of Human Rights report on this issue and then act accordingly. Of course, this issue also should be dealt in the UN Human Rights Council and so forth. For me, particularly the news of the violence against the women is incredible and something that probably not has happened in any wars or conflicts in that region. Maybe a word about what is the aim of Ethiopia. When I met the Ethiopian leadership in February, they really used this kind of language that they are going to destroy the Tigrayans, they are going to wipe out the Tigrayans for 100 years and so forth, which for me referred to very serious human rights atrocities and crimes as well. If you wipe out your national minority, what is it? You cannot destroy all the people, you cannot destroy all the population in Tigray, and I think that's very obvious that we have to react and because it looks for us like ethnic cleansing. It is a very serious act if this is true. Where are the arms coming from? Who is supporting? Of course, we see now the reaction by Prime Minister Abiy that when there is an increased pressure from European Union and US, he, so to say, turns to China, he turns to Russia. There is this kind of hostile language against Westerners now in Ethiopia. And I also want to warn against this part, because if they really choose this kind of language and rhetoric, this has meant now that our embassies in Addis have faced some protests, and people are on the streets, start to be hostile towards the Westerners and so forth. This is not a nice story at all, and this is also what we have been saying to government of Ethiopia, that if they want to turn this to some kind of hatred campaign against the Westerners, it doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help any people in the country, but it doesn't help our cooperation either. And they now want to flag out that they have other friends than West as well. They have China, they have Russia, and so forth. And of course, this is a topic that we also should discuss with Russia, with China, and so forth. On malnutrition situation and what will be happening, the news from the OCHA are very concerning. We have been again on weekly contacts, but not only with our own ECHO, but with ICRC, with the World Food Programme, Mr. Beasley. We have talking to OCHA, we have been talking to UNHCR, other organizations, and I think the UN organizations have a very similar view as us of the situation, and OCHA has been very vocal on this possible famine, malnutrition that will occur when people cannot do their normal agricultural work and plant seeds and cannot go back to their houses and homes. So this is the situation. I hope I covered most of the topics. Of course, some questions are still very open. We try, of course, in these circumstances when we are working on the Tigray, at the same time try to advance on the